Hi guys, welcome to another episode of JDM Masters, and today we are in Odaiba, and we're also going to go to the historic garage, which is also owned and maintained by Toyota. There's a lot of historic cars. Let's go check it out. Alright guys, so now we are inside the Toyota MegaWeb History Garage, and if you come, it's really tourist friendly. You come right into the side here. There's guide pamphlets here in maybe 10 different languages of English, Chinese, Korean, French, we have Spanish, and there's something for everyone. So just come here, take a little guide pamphlet and be on your way. As you can see right behind me, it's not a Japanese car, it's not even JDM, but it's a British car. And something special about this is a Lotus Elan S4, very compact, very small, and this kind of cars from the British roadster era of the 70s was actually the inspiration for the original Mazda MX-5, Miata, and what they call in Japan the Roadster. This was the inspiration to revive the kind of like compact, open-air sports car. So all of these cars here are kept in fine running condition, restored by the Toyota mechanics themselves in a restoration room, which we'll take a look at below. And let's go have a look at some of the other historic cars in this museum. Next up, we have a compact Ferrari. Well, actually, it's made by Ferrari, but the actual name is not Ferrari. It's called, you see the sign here, it says Dino. This car was named after Enzo Ferrari's son, who unfortunately passed away at a young age, but he really loved his son a lot and named this compact Ferrari 246 GTS the Dino, which had a V6 engine, and it was the same engine actually used in the Lancia Stratos. And what's unique about this car, it was Ferrari's first V6 car. Mainly at the time they had engines which were V12, V8, and you know, it was in the supercar class, but he envisioned making the Dino as a sort of like an entry-level compact car class. And so let's have a look at the specs. 1.7 meters wide is actually quite wide for something made in this era. 1973, so you know, the 70s boom of like the supercars, and you had something this compact at a 2.4 liter V6 pushing on 195 horsepower at 7,600 RPM. Very, very impressive for something made in the early 70s. It was using Ferrari's racing experience to engineer a small package, and also very cute round lights and that mid-engine, and you're sitting right in the center of the car. So you're driving something like this, you feel like a go-kart, you're right in the middle, and this was the concept. It was lightweight, affordable, and at the same time beautiful. Now, a Dino is actually really, really rare, and to find one is something of a true collector's item. Maybe in the Ferrari range, it's a bit lesser known and maybe less desirable, but true Italian car aficionados really love this car a lot. Going through this museum is really like stepping back in time. Here is a classic. I think this is a genuine item. This is a barber's sign spinning outside. And you can see all the rust here. It's formed, it still works. The showcase here, you see hair tonic, some beauty items, some old photographs. And you know, they've taken the paint to recreate even like all the dirt and the rust from the pipes. Really reflects the Showa era. Now this is a car that perhaps everyone knows. Classic Volkswagen Beetle, made in 1957. This is the Type 1 with the 1.2 liter engine, overhead valves, 4-stroke, air-cooled engine, producing only 36 horsepower. But this was very, very lightweight, and for those of you who don't know about what the Beetle is actually designed by Dr. Ferdinand Porsche. Yes, Mr. Porsche himself was the designer of this car. Less well known, Adolf Hitler himself commissioned Dr. Ferdinand Porsche to engineer a car for the masses, for the German people, so that people can have in fact, the name Volkswagen in German means the people's car. So despite its really notorious origins, but the Beetle is still loved today as one of the classic cars, and this is also the base of the 911 and all the technology to come there from after. This is really interesting concept because the engine right all at the way at the back, and the thinking of car engineering in that time, at least by Mr. Porsche, was that having the engine all the way at the back would create more interior space, and also the front, the bonnet is really long and big. It has like a lot of luggage room, and the fuel tank is also in front, and so to get the car at a better balance, full tank of fuel, a lot of luggage in the front, so affirming its status as one of the most popular cars ever made. We're talking about 21.5 million units ever made. Wow! I mean, in its span of over 50 years, and it's been made in different locations. Can you imagine? This actually is one of the most popular cars still made, I believe still made until quite recently. And perhaps another iconic car for those who've seen Back to the Future is the DeLorean DMC-12. Sitting right here in full stainless steel body. And the body's this color because it's the color of unpainted stainless steel. Very iconic 80s style, flat, square, low, with the famous gull wing doors. It didn't really have a really impressive engine, but John DeLorean, who envisioned making a supercar for the American market, then later taken up by the movie, and this turned into an iconic status. There is a JDM car that actually resembles the DeLorean, and it is the Isuzu Piazza. And to a certain extent, certain cars like the Toyota Levin and some Celicas actually looked a little bit like this. Obviously, the 80s squarish, blockish, straight-cut styling really has its influences in this DMC-12. On the final row of the Historic Garage Museum, you see more recreated shop fronts, benches, 1960s vending machines, televisions. It was the boom of the Japanese economic household product industry, and you see cars like the Toyota Corona, the original Crown, second generation Crown, and all these cars reflect the regular household standard for Japanese families. Cars of this era had designs that were very highly inspired by European cars, and you can see from the small details like the fender, the headlights, and the door handle designs, and even the interior, how they aim to mimic European contemporary cars like Mercedes, BMW, Alfa Romeo. They took little styling cues, and this was really clearly the beginning of the development of their style. Something different about Japanese car makers from the Europeans in that time is they took things that were considered the technology and design a better version, or so to speak. Well, let me put it another way. Japanese engineers like to take something based on European or American designs and improve on it. And so that all started in the 60s and was experimental in the 70s, and by the time the 80s came with a lot of digital and electronic technology. What is this? This is so huge. Is this like a spaceship? Well, it's an American spaceship, obviously, because it's a 1959 Chevrolet Impala. Something you'll see in American films of the 1960s. Just reminds me of scenes of I need Elvis Presley hair or something. But look at this, it's magnificent. Obviously in really good condition. This is the size of my house. I could literally live in here. But nowhere are you going to find, even in contemporary cars today or of American design, this crazy, like X-wing fighter melded with the design of an Apollo spacecraft. Anywhere, I mean, not even any American makers could make something like this. And that plush sofa-like interior, literally the front and the rear seats are the same. They can sit maybe like 4 people, I think. And it just looks like an American diner, on 4 wheels. But that's literally what it is. I love how the white face wheel tires just sit quietly under this huge, kind of like the fender that's probably the size of. Just to give you an idea of how long this thing is, I'm going to count my steps to the end of this car. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 steps long. That's crazy. I love this thing. And now I'm going to show you my favorite car, or what I think is perhaps the first true super sports car of Japan. This is the 1967 Toyota 2000 GT. This perhaps is one of the most beautiful, most iconic, and most collectible Japanese classic sports cars. The Toyota 2000 GT presented at the Tokyo Motor Show in 1965 and went into production in 1967 until 1970. This was the first true Japanese Gran Turismo class supercar. Now, why is this car so special? Now, originally Yamaha Motors actually supposedly approached Nissan, offering them to make a special like a sports car. But Nissan at that time already went into a merger and were partnering with Prince Motors, in which they inherited and produced the Skyline and the Skyline GTR. So instead, Yamaha went to Toyota Motors and said, look, Toyota at that time wasn't producing any sports cars. They had something called the Toyota Sports 800, which is very small. But then Toyota saw a chance to enter the supercar and the sports car Gran Turismo market and to compete with the Europeans. And so Yamaha and Toyota went into a partnership and produced this beautiful car that you see in front of me. This long bonnet, low roofline, sweeping fenders. It looks a lot like the Jaguar E-Type, one of the most iconic cars of styling presented in that era, and heavily influenced by that style. Now, the engine is an inline-six 2-liter borrowed off the Crown, and Yamaha re-engineered it with 3 Solex carburetors, DOHC, valve train head, producing 140 horsepower. And you've got to remember, this is 1967. That's quite a lot of power and a high response from something with 3 carburetors. Now, looking at the design details here, this is something that modern cars will never be able to recreate, because you have the driver's seat right here. You're sitting right in front of the rear wheel. So as you're driving this car, you feel directly what the rear movements of the car. The front wheel is placed as far front as possible. Look at the windshield rake of the A-pillar, and the door hinges actually much more forward. It's at least 30 centimeters in front. In fact, I had to make this cutaway for the driver to get out. Another interesting feature, behind this little box panel here, on one side actually sits the battery. The battery is located inside here. So the 2000 GT is perhaps one of the most expensive and a true Japanese collector's cars. Only 351 models were ever made. There were 2 types. 233 were MF10s, which had a 2-liter engine, and MF12s, which were built by Yamaha, 2.2 liter, was also produced. One of these would cost well over 100 million Japanese yen today. Now that's quite a lot. It's about the same price as the next Halo supercar that Toyota has made, called the Lexus LFA. Stepping outside, there are a couple more hidden gems. There's a Toyota Sports 800. This car is really special because it has a mere 800cc engine, but with a 2-cylinder horizontally opposed boxer engine, rear-wheel drive. Nissan Skyline GTR KPGC10 Hakosuka. Well, more about this, we have another video which we did in the Nissan Collection Hall, all about this car, so have a look at it right here. Speaking Shakespearean language, but hidden in the sentences are actually car words. O Celica, Celica, wherefore art thou Celica? Et tu Mark II, et tu Cresta, then with chaser. Really clever and cute. All for one Corolla for all. Of course, this building is already more than 20 years old, so it's beginning to show its age. The walls, the paint is stripping off, the words, the letterings are fading away. So what's interesting, this little roundabout is actually part of the MegaWeb's test course. So you can actually book on the internet and test drive any modern Toyota car on sale here in their mini test course. And outside here on the first floor, there are another 2 cars that I want to show you guys. The first is a Toyota Soarer MZ-12 from 1981. A very high luxury spec car of the 1980s. Had a inline-6 2.7 liter 7M engine, twin cam, producing 170 horsepower. But it's not about the engine that makes this car special. The coloring and every single detail, like the interior with its plush sofa-like velvet seats. And this is one of the cars that Toyota really put a lot of their new technology, experimental new technology, and showcased it in the Soarer. So the Soarer obviously was the forerunner for the Lexus SC models of the later generations. It's pretty crazy to see the level of trim detail that they put into these 1980s cars. Even the seatbelt has the motif of the car name Soarer printed on it. I've never seen anything like it on any other JDM car. The roof lining, very soft felt velvet, the seats, even the trim on the side resembles some luxury sofa. The buttons on the driver's side enables it to be reclined forwards and backwards. The two-tone interior trim, even the carpets used are just really thick and luxurious. This is clearly a discerning car of luxury for the 1980s businessman who wanted to cruise down Roppongi and Ginza in 1980s with his date wearing a nice evening gown. You know, absolute class. The 1973 Toyota Sprinter Trueno. Now, you guys will initially love the AE86. This is the car that preceded, actually 2 generations before. This is the first Trueno, and it had a 1.6 liter engine producing 115 horsepower. It was the same engine as the Celica 1600 GT. This was the choice of the 1970s toge and street racer and circuit racer. Really compact in dimensions, same live axle rear wheel drive, carburetor engine, and later they had the later model had a EFI engine, and then culminating the last AE86 rear wheel drive model. But this is like the granddaddy of that. Interestingly, the color, like I was talking a little bit earlier about the fashionable 70s, and it's the color selection of 70s cars and 80s cars is really something different. It's a different time, a different fashion sense, a different way of thinking of styling and color coordination. It's simple and really stands out today if you were to drive one of these on the street. Now, of course, all of these cars are being restored in a special garage, a restoration shop on the first floor. This is what I love about this historic garage. There's not only Toyotas, as you can see, there's this bright orange S30 Fairlady Z, and not just any Fairlady Z. It's the 423, 4 cylinders, 3 carburetors, twin cam. This is the same engine as the Hakosuka GTR, with the S20 twin cam inline 6 2-liter engine producing 165 horsepower. So they took that engine and put it in this special limited edition Fairlady Z. It's the ultimate collector's Fairlady Z. Beautifully restored, maybe by Toyota themselves. A little bit of paint cracks here and there, but they do ongoing restoration. And it's just very nice to see they're placing important contemporary sports cars of that era alongside Toyota's own models. Auto Art 2000 GT. I think for Auto Art, they produced this model really well. Look at the level of detail in the chrome, in the grille, and the headlight covers, and also the windscreen, rake, the shape of the door handles, and it's really well done. Oh, look at this! A TRD 2000 GT SW20 wide-bodied kit version. I've only seen the real car once, perhaps. So now we are in the main hall of the historic garage, where they regularly change the displays. A lot of these cars are actually taken from various historic garages around Japan, shared by Toyota and other automakers, but a lot of these cars are actually taken from Toyota's own museum located in Aichi Prefecture. Now today's selection is a little bit different. They're not sports cars, but they are light trucks from the 1960s, and a very important part of building the Japanese economy during the Showa era. And you can see a selection of quirky, different design and trucks and commercial vehicles of different sizes. In the corner on the left, we have a Daihatsu Midget, which is a 3-wheel vehicle. Now, in the 60s, 3-wheel vehicles and trucks were very popular because They were easy to manufacture with low cost, with half motorcycle parts and half truck parts. And that Daihatsu three-wheeler is a base for the tuk-tuk, which you see a lot in Thailand and surrounding countries, and even in India. So the one that really stands out as the one on the left, Mazda three-wheel truck. They're called Sanninsha in Japan. Now, this was super quirky because it was actually a large size truck and much larger than the Daihatsu. The front is removable, it's like a convertible canopy. And you could just imagine traders, fishermen, store suppliers just going around the three-wheeler trucks all around in the 60s in Japan. One of the first vehicles made by Honda, and this is the T360H. What's even more quirky about this Honda is that it's a light truck, but it used the same engine as the original S500 and S600, basically a racing motorcycle engine made for the road. Now just imagine this. 350cc, 4-cylinder, twin cam, inline 4, producing 30 horsepower at 8,500 RPM. A mini truck cruising around Tokyo, 8,500 RPM with 30 horsepower. Now 30 horsepower at 356, it's almost 100 horsepower per liter. That's just crazy. You had all these Datsuns, Toyotas, Nissans, with low revving engines going around, and this little Honda just racing around Tokyo, delivering goods at breakneck racing RPM speeds. It's crazy. That just shows the DNA and the thinking of Honda. Just put the sports car engine into a truck. Just put it into everything, And just looking at the beautiful, smooth, round lines of these 60s cars really just reflects on the styling and the thinking. Now, plastics weren't used a lot back then, so everything you see here is just shiny metal chrome, right down to the bumpers, to the fender-mounted mirrors, even the shiny stolts of the windshield wipers, the surround on the windscreen, the trim on the side, the door handles. And obviously these cars have been restored, so everything's just shiny like the day it left the showroom. Inside is very simple, no headrest, not much of safety equipment back in the 60s. There weren't even 3-point seatbelts. 2-point seatbelts was the norm. Obviously no airbags, no ABS, carburetor, but the style of the 60s reflects just beauty before performance, and it really shows in even the choice of the interior colors. Some of these models had a selection of really quirky but fashionable light blue. Just look inside the trunk bed of this Corona. You wouldn't imagine it'll be this sort of like tan light brown color. Unimaginable. The commercial trucks of these days is just plain white, with the same color. But here we are in the 60s and 70s, everything was fashionable. I mean, we're talking about the time where, mini skirts, the Beatles, polka dots, flared jeans, sideburns, huge sunglasses. It was really a more, fashionable and lively time, I think. Things were simple. Right round the back of the exhibition hall, there is a little narrow passageway where you'll see what is basically a library. Well, a library of old magazines and books lined up on the right side, and on the left side, a beautiful showcase filled with model cars of every manufacturer, every iconic JDM model in the history of these car makers, some European cars as well, all beautifully displayed in soft lighting, and a lot of them really desirable. I think I have a few of them, and we can also do a little review on locations in Tokyo and Yokohama where you can get some of these models. There's English books, there's also Japanese books, and you can sort of like just sit down here and browse through them. And some of these books are probably really difficult to find now, but you can sit here and enjoy them. This is a really cool book. It's an automotive design, and it shows the history of the process of automotive design and engineering through the beginning of the 19th century up to A lot of it's in Japanese though. A little catalog on 1970s world cars. We have one for each era, 70s and the 90s. If you're a true car fan and a car enthusiast, this is a good chance to just browse through and look at these really rare pictures, rare photos on JDM cars. There's so much to see here. I could literally spend a whole day here and not get bored. Hidden alongside the bookshelves are lots of different paintings, drawings, original photographs, and I also see just really flabbergasted and really awed by just that level of detail in the presentation of this love for the history of cars. There's so much packed into one little place like this, and looking at every detail you can understand just how rich the culture of the automobile is. Oh, I see the famous A86 and the AW11 here. They've even bothered to select different colors and put it on display. Front, back, and you have the mirror there that shows all angles of it. It's like, okay, we couldn't put the real cars, so let's put really highly detailed scale models and present it here. Man, I could literally just spend 5 minutes on each case and still not get bored. Oh wow! So you have the 80s selection, Savannah, RX-7, Iron Mask Skyline, CRX, the Z31 Fairlady Z, the Mitsubishi Stereo, Gazelle. Oh, finding little gems here like this for roadster fans. Look at this. It's an entire book for the history of the roadster. It goes into the actual design. Everything's in Japanese, but there are nice pictures here on the development, for example. To the clay models. This library right here is the master guide. To see if we've left anything out, we've got to come back here and check everything and make a checklist of it. It's just fantastic. Subaru fans you can find here. The history of the Fuji Heavy Industries. Just fantastic. Even if you don't read Japanese, it doesn't matter. What I love about these books here, it shows the original reprint of the catalogs from every model that has ever been produced by each car manufacturer. Fantastic, all the way up to the modern legacy, the WRX STI that we reviewed earlier on. Oh, goodness me, this is fantastic. Here we go, the Impreza, and we reviewed earlier on the version 6. Where are you? There we go. Here's a showcase of 1/64 scale, what appears to be Tomy and Tomica vintage Neo. I have a couple of these, and so many of them here. I'm really impressed by the quality of Japanese model makers like Tomy. Far better than any European or American model maker for that small range of the small scale of cars. It's fantastic. So guys, that was a quick walk around and review of the historic garage section on the second floor. Catch you next week in the next video. Peace out.